Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel, and this is AWS Lambda tutorial series part 5. So in this video we are going to discuss what are all the configurations that you can set up in the AWS Lambda functions. As you know, AWS Lambda is a serverless computing service. You just develop the code and execute the code, and the rest of the things will be taken care of by the cloud provider, which is AWS. That means you are executing the code on their machines and cloud provider machines, and the computing resources will be taken care of by the cloud provider. So you don't need to do anything specifically to manage the computing resources. So everything will be taken care of by the cloud provider. Now the thing is, you can set up some configurations that are in your control. I will discuss what are all them. So there are plenty of configurations that you can set up. So those are to be like restrict the access or control the networks, or you can set up the virtual private cloud, and also you can manage some memory, runtime memory, and you can set up some environment variables. I will discuss all of them one by one. So I will discuss only which are important. I'm not going to discuss all of them. So I will discuss which are important for you. So for now, let's see. The first one is general configurations. You can see you can add the description over here. So these are all the general configurations that you can set up. If you want add description timeout, you can just add it. So the description you can add as per your requirement. What is the purpose of this lambda function, you can add it. And the memory, so this is basically a runtime memory. You can add between 128 MB to 10,240 MB, that means around 10 GB. So you can increase this or decrease as per your requirement. It cannot be less than 128 MB. It should be more than 128 MB. If you want this to be, if your lambda function is running on memory like 512 GB, so you can just increase. So sorry, 512 MB, you can just increase. And this is ephemeral storage is something that is a temporary storage. So that is also between 512 MB to 10,240 MB. So you can also increase or decrease according to your requirement. And this is the timeout. The timeout is something your lambda function execution. For example, if your lambda function executing for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, you can choose according to that particular time. So for example, if your lambda function is running for 5 minutes, you can set up the timeout as 6 minutes. So it cannot go beyond the 6 minutes. So the maximum runtime is 15 minutes. If you can see, I will see, you can see the maximum timeout is 15 minutes. It cannot execute more than 15 minutes. If your lambda function is executing more than 15 minutes, you will get an error called timeout error. Or you set up the timeout 5 minutes, and if your lambda function is executing more than 5 minutes, so you will get a timeout error. So you can set up the timeout and it will execute up to that point. And this is the execution role, which is the uh, permissions for your lambda function. So whatever the lambda role, whatever the role that you are giving, that role should have access to the service, other services like S3 or any other service. If you are giving this lambda role, so this lambda function can access to that particular services which this lambda role have. And this is about general configurations. I've discussed description, timeout, memory, ephemeral storage, and this is the snapshot that it reduces the startup time, startup latency basically. So it will not use this much. And this is the trigger. Triggers I've explained in the previous video. You can check the video. I will add the link in the description, so you can check it out. The permissions. So execution role that I've already discussed earlier. So the role, for example, you have created a role and you have given some permissions to some other services like S3. As you can see, so this particular role have access to S3 bucket, and what it can do. So this lambda function can access to this particular S3. So whatever the services this role have access to, that can be accessed by this lambda function. So whatever the permissions this role have, I can see all of them here. For now, I have only S3 bucket access. And these are the resource based policy statements. So resource-based policy statements grant other AWS account services permission to access your Lambda resources. For example, if you want to access services from other accounts, or you can add it here. You can add AWS account or AWS service, and also you can add a function URL. So if you have the endpoint, you can just directly add it here. And this destination, you won't be using that much this destination. So this is like once your Lambda function executes, and you will get the invocation records to your SNS or SPS. So you can set up like this. Most of the cases you will use this on asynchronous invocations. So asynchronous invocation means that you don't wait for the response. So you don't get any response. So on failure or on success, if it fails, you will get the invocation records to this particular SNS topic or whatever you set up here. So you will get the invocation records to that particular service. Or on success, based on the condition that you set up, you can get the invocation records to that particular service. And this is the function URL. The function URL is something that you can create an endpoint for this particular Lambda function that you have created. So this Lambda function can have the endpoint. So that means like you can see here, the function URL is dedicated HTTP endpoint for your function. When your function URL is configured, you can use it to invoke your Lambda function through a browser. So you can also invoke your Lambda function from the browser. So once you create a URL for this Lambda function, and this is environment variables. So for example, I have added a bucket right here. I want to access the bucket name from here. I don't want to explicitly add this bucket name in the code. So for example, if you see, so in this place, I have added this bucket name explicitly, but I don't want to add this bucket directly in here. So, but I want to access this from environment variables like this. I can access. So you can add it as a key pair. So bucket is the key here, and the bucket name is the value there. So if you see, this is the key and this is the value. You can edit and add one more like this. So I'm removing for now. I want to access the bucket name from the environment variables. So I will execute and will show you here. So earlier it was directly, I've given directly a bucket name, but now I'm accessing it from the environment variables. So now I'll deploy and test. So OS is not imported. Okay, fine. So I'm using a library called os.getIn, right? So I need to import that library. And I will also print the bucket name here so that you can see if the bucket name is accessed from here or not. Okay. Now you should see the bucket name as encode data bucket, right? Noticed? Okay. Let's do one thing. I don't want to do any stuff here. I will comment all of this and just execute this particular part. So as I don't have the file in the bucket, so I'm getting that particular error. But let's comment all of them and let's test. So this is how you do. You just whenever you get an error, right? So you do debug it. What is the error that you're getting, and go and fix it. So you can see the bucket name encode data bucket, which is accessed from the environment variables. So this is how you can set the environment variables, whichever you want. You don't want to use the the confidential information that you don't want to display in the code. That you can use it here. You can access it from the environment variables, and that is what is the environment variables and the tags. So the tags can be used for the to differentiate different lambda functions into a logical groups, and also you can use it for cost allocation. For example, if you use a particular tag that can differentiate the cost allocations. So how much is billing for a particular this particular tag, whichever it is being used. Okay, whichever the lambda function it is being used, or whichever the service, other services also, whichever it is being used. So that can be a purpose of tags. So, and one more thing, you can also access the controls. So only the users or accounts who are having this particular tags can have access to this uh, lambda functions. So that can be a different thing. So you can access the access control can be done by using the tags as well. And the VPC. VPC is something you can execute your Lambda function within a private cloud, within a private network. If you want if you want your Lambda function to be executed within a private network, you can set up a virtual private cloud. So I can add. So if you have created specifically one, you can add that one, or else you can add whichever you're comfortable with. Like for example, I have this default VPC. I can add this and go ahead and execute the function. I can add the security groups, but be sure that you have all the proper permissions to this VPC, right? And one more thing that you keep in mind, that if you want to access the services within a VPC, within one of the VPC, for example, this VPC, I have other services. If you want to access these services from this Lambda function, you need to configure this Lambda function. Without configuring this Lambda function, this VPC, you will not be able to access the services from this VPC. So if you want to access the services from this VPC, you need to configure this VPC to this Lambda function. Okay, so that you need to keep in mind. So that is the importance of VPC. And the RDS databases, you can connect to any RDS database within the service, within this account. You can if you have existing database, you can add it, or else you can create a new database from here itself. So you can access the uh, RDS databases from this Lambda function. And also keep in mind that connect this Lambda function not attached to VPC to an RDS. So you need to add a VPC. So that should be in the same VPC. So as I said, if you want to access this any service, not only RDS, any services, so that is in VPC. So you need to configure the VPC to this Lambda function. Okay. So if you configure one VPC to this Lambda function, the RDS database also should be that VPC. Otherwise, you cannot access it. So you can also access the RDS databases from here, and monitoring and operation tools. So you can monitor executions from this particular log group. So these are the CloudWatch log groups. Whenever you execute the function, this Lambda function, you can go and check the logs from here, right? And this state machines. So this is you can include the Lambda functions to any particular state machine, so that this Lambda function can execute as part of the flow, as part of an orchestration. So this is a completely different topic. I can discuss in the later videos as well. I hope you have learned all about the configurations in the Lambda functions. I hope it is useful for you. And if you like this video, please click on the like button and subscribe to my channel. We'll get a lot more tutorials and a lot more projects coming in this particular YouTube channel. Thanks for watching the video. Bye.